So let's talk about modeling subtracting fractions with unlike denominators. So just like when you're adding fractions, in order to subtract fractions, you have to have a common denominator. In my first two examples, you'll notice that 2 is a factor of 4 and 3 is a factor of 6. So the 4 and the 6 are the common denominators for these two problems. So this becomes 2 times 2 is 4, so 1 times 2 is 2. This problem now becomes 3/4, take away 2/4, which is 1/4. So let's model this with our fraction strips. As it is written, the problem says 3/4 take away a half. So this is what we're taking away. So what students should be able to notice is that the 1/2 is the same size or equivalent to 2/4. So they're taking away these 2/4, and the difference is the 1/4. With this next problem, 5/6 minus 1/3. Again, since 3 is a factor of 6, 6 is the common denominator. And we take 3 times 2 to get 6. Whatever we do to the denominator, we must do to the numerator. And 1 times 2 is 2. So the difference between 5/6 and 2/6, 3/6, which you might recognize, could be simplified by dividing the numerator and the denominator by 3. So the difference is 1/2. So let's model this problem. 5/6, remove that 1/4 from the last problem. So we have 5/6. We need to take away a third. So students need to look for an equivalence. So this is what they need to take away, the third. And what they might notice is that 1/3 is equivalent to the 2/6. So that is what they need to take away from the minuend. So 1/6 or 1/3 is equivalent to 2/6. So I'm going to take away 2/6. That leaves me with 3/6. And then I might notice that 3/6 is the same size or equivalent to 1/2. So I could simplify the difference to 1/2. The last problem I'm going to model for you is 3/4 minus 1/3. This is a little bit more complicated situation because you do not have a common denominator. And the two denominators, neither is a factor of the other. So if that is the case, students need to remember to find the least common multiple of the denominators. Which is 12. So 12 is the denominator, the common denominator we're going to use. Since we had to multiply 4 by 3 to get 12, we need to multiply 3 times 3 to get 9. Since we had to multiply 3 times 4 to get 12, we need to multiply 1 times 4 to get 4. And now we have common denominators, something we can work with, and that says 9/12 minus 4/12 is 5/12. So the difference between 3/4 and 1/3, 5/12. So let's model this with our fraction strips. We're going to start with the minuend, which is 3/4. And we need to take away a third. See, in the other problems, we were able to find something within the minuend that was equivalent to 1/3. That's what made it easier. However, with this problem, a third doesn't fit. That's because they do not have a common factor. So we need to think of what is equivalent between fourths and thirds, and we would notice that we could put twelfths together to make a fourth. It takes 3/12 to make a fourth. And it takes 4/12 to make a third. So what we notice is that we could take our minuend and I admit my twelfths aren't exactly perfect. So now my minuend is equivalent to the 9/12, and we need to, now that we can take away 1/3, which is equivalent to 4 of those twelfths. See, these are equivalent, so I'm going to take these away, take the 4/12 away, and that lets me know that the difference is 5/12.